Clark speaking at USA Basketball Camp about the WNBA and the moment that they're currently in. Let's take a look.
Very high level, and I think the most important thing for myself, thinking about these CBA negotiations, like, this is the biggest moment the WNBA has ever seen, and it's not something that can be messed up, and, we're going to fight for everything that we deserve, but at the same time, like, we need to play basketball. That's what our fans...
What if I told you the biggest controversy in the WNBA right now didn't start with a foul? It started with a sentence. Back in December 2024 at the USA Basketball Camp, Caitlin Clark stepped up and said something that honestly sounded pretty reasonable. Players should stay focused on basketball while the CBA negotiations play out. Simple, right? But the reaction? Absolute chaos. Social media lit up, critics came flying in from every direction, and suddenly Clark was being labeled everything from a scab to a rat, even accused of benefiting from so-called white privilege. Old guard WNBA fans went straight for her throat. But here's where this story takes a wild turn. Just a few weeks later, Paige Bueckers delivers almost the exact same message. Literally the same idea. No strike, let's play basketball, but players still deserve fair compensation. And this time, silence, or even praise. Same message, completely different reaction. So the real question is, what changed? Take a look at this moment right here. Ice.
Like, both sides aren't moving, so I feel like we need to continue to have these conversations, continue to actually have change implemented for us to move on our stance. And so we as players, we don't want to strike. We want to have a season. I love playing basketball. That's all I want to do. But again, there's things that need to be handled, and we want to do it as professionals. At this point,
we as players don't want to have a strike. We want a season. Sounds a little bit like we need to play basketball. Yeah, sound.
That clip right there says everything. In late December, Paige Bueckers steps up and basically remixes the exact same message Caitlin Clark delivered weeks earlier. She says players don't want a strike, they want a season, they want to hoop while still pushing for fair compensation. The same core idea. The same logic. The same conclusion. But this time, the reaction flips completely. Instead of backlash, you see supportive comments, thoughtful debates, fans nodding along like they just discovered some brand new wisdom. It's almost like the message suddenly became easier to digest. And that's why a lot of analysts started pointing something out. Paige essentially slowed the message down, coded it differently, and delivered it in a way that fans were ready to accept. Same facts, same stance, just a different messenger and a totally different reception. And once you realize that, the entire conversation around this CBA drama starts looking a whole lot deeper. But hold up, because the next moment pushes this debate into an even crazier direction. Watch this.
Lindsay, love it! They know if they strike, the doors may never open back up. Paige, Kaylin, and Angel are already rich. They don't really care if the league is ripping the players off. They don't get it. It's funny watching people just dogpile on Paige here. I'm sorry, I have to laugh. Except the...
Man, you saw those comments after that clip, right? Fans slowly realizing they just applauded Paige Bueckers for saying the exact thing they roasted Caitlin Clark for just weeks earlier. People in the replies literally saying, "Remember when CC said they need to just play basketball and everyone got mad?" Yeah, we remember. Because that whole meltdown happened barely 3 weeks before this moment. But here's the twist. By the time this debate was exploding online, the actual CBA situation had already started shifting. In January 2025, the WNBA Players Association and the league reached a tentative agreement that included massive financial changes. The minimum salary was set to jump from about $58,000 to $90,000. The average salary, pushing close to $200,000. And for the first time, real revenue sharing was finally being discussed. The strike threat that everyone was panicking about? Basically off the table. But that's what makes this whole situation so revealing. Because what happened between December and January showed something way bigger than just contract numbers. It exposed a pattern that's been quietly poisoning WNBA conversations all throughout the 2024 season. A pattern where the exact same statement gets two completely different reactions depending on who's delivering it. And once people started noticing that pattern, things in the league got even more heated. Watch what happens next.
Negotiations. This is a horrible thing for a player to say during collective bargaining. This is exactly what the owners want to hear. She should have used the moment to advocate hard for all the players who have not gotten their bag rather than capitulating. The rat! Damn, calling Caitlin Clark a rat for speaking of facts. Damn, you need to see it. Kane is financially secure. She does need the money from the WNBA. Like the other players who are less fortunate, Caitlin would do herself a lot of good if she just shut the fuck up and stayed out of the conversation. Damn.
That reaction after the last clip really set the stage. Because now we have to go back to what Caitlin Clark actually said in the first place. Picture the moment, December, USA basketball camp, cameras everywhere, reporters asking about the CBA negotiations. Clark doesn't dodge the question. She answers straight up. Players absolutely need to advocate for themselves and fight for what they deserve, but at the same time, the league grows when the basketball is elite. The better the product on the court, the more revenue comes in, and that's what ultimately gives players leverage for bigger deals. That's not anti-union talk. That's not scab behavior. That's basic sports economics. The reality is the league can't just magically print money. The WNBA reportedly lost around $40 million in 2024 even while viewership was exploding. So Clark's point was simple. The game has to keep growing if salaries are going to grow with it. Pretty straightforward logic, right? But the internet didn't treat it that way. The backlash was immediate and brutal. People were saying keep her away from negotiations, claiming she was echoing owner talking points. Some comments went way further, calling her a loser, saying they hated her, accusing her of never standing for anything. The criticism got savage fast. And when you see how intense that reaction was, the next moment in this story hits even harder. Take a look at this.
The new fans in this comment section kind of holding Paige's feet to the fire. You don't really see any of the old guard just wearing their clown costume, do you? She's so bad. LOL. Oh, goodness. Weirdos in the comments, LOL. Anyways, give them a season and pay them what they deserve. LOL. It's almost like Caitlin said this already months ago. Her white privilege is speaking. She is a scab. The UConn Mafia better figure it out for her girlfriend's rookie season. Is going to be butchered. She can't even sell at the shoebox stadium the Wings play in. I promise nobody important is listening to her opinion. Oh yeah. Chris Williams, where are you? Oh gosh, you're just asking for Chris. Is she gonna get branded as a scab too? LMOO, I didn't even see Paige said it too. I guarantee we won't see the same people that call CC a scab in December come to the stand now. Oh no, we haven't seen them. They're MI.
That last moment really puts things into perspective. Because now watch what happens when Paige Bueckers delivers the same idea. Same platform, same type of clip, same conversation about the CBA, yet the energy in the comments flips completely. Instead of outrage, you see people saying things like, it's almost like Caitlin already said this months ago, or brushing the criticism off like, relax, just give them a season and pay them what they deserve. Suddenly everyone's calm. Suddenly everyone understands nuance. The wild part is the creator documenting this didn't just guess, they pulled screenshots, timelines, receipts showing exactly how the reactions shifted. Even prominent WNBA media personality Chris Williamson reposted Paige's comments at first, and then quietly deleted the post once fans started pointing out the obvious contradiction. Because nobody wanted to be caught praising Paige for something they had just criticized Caitlin Clark for saying weeks earlier. And that brings us to the uncomfortable question people keep dancing around. Why? Why does the exact same statement bring brutal backlash for one player but applause for another? And before someone jumps in with the classic defense, it's about how they said it. Go back and watch both clips side by side. The tone is almost identical. Both players are calm, measured, trying to balance two realities at once. Yes, players deserve more money, but the league also has financial realities it has to navigate. Same message, same delivery. But the reaction from fans? Night and day. And once that contradiction started getting exposed publicly, the entire debate around the WNBA narrative took another dramatic turn. Check this out.
She is conservative. They hate that white girl from Iowa. I'm telling you, folks, for those of you who are wondering why, because I'm seeing a lot of people wonder, hey, why are they so nice to Paige and not that nice to Kayla? Paige is what they call step black. That's what they're calling her. I didn't make it up. I did not make it up. They're calling her step black. She's an honorable black woman. hey, I don't make the rules. I'm just letting you know what I've heard. I don't make the rules. I'm just letting you know what.
That last clip really pushes this conversation into uncomfortable territory. Because now we're not just talking about basketball opinions anymore. The creator points out something that's been floating around WNBA social media circles for months. Certain segments of the fan base literally refer to Paige Bueckers as Steph Black or call her an honorary black woman. That's not a phrase the creator invented. That's language that's been used by parts of the old guard WNBA community online. The idea is that Paige gets treated like she's part of the in-group. She gets the benefit of the doubt. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark. She's often reduced to that white girl from Iowa. Not even her name, just geography and race. People say things like, well, she's from Iowa, she's probably conservative, as if the state you're born in somehow invalidates your basketball opinion or your right to talk about labor negotiations. And the wild thing is, this isn't subtle. It's not hidden between the lines. It's explicit, documented bias playing out across thousands of comments in real time. And it's not just random trolls with zero followers either. Some of these takes are coming from established WNBA fan accounts, people with big audiences who present themselves as voices of authority around the league. Which raises an even bigger question about how narratives in the WNBA are actually being shaped online. And when you see the next clip, you'll understand why this debate exploded even further.
Cloud, I don't know how people like Natasha Cloud. I don't know how she has fans. I don't know how people support her. Oh yeah, I do. They're old guard WNBA fans. Duh. Let's hear what Natasha Cloud had to say.
Are still.
We don't want this, but they want this. But we want this, but we want this. And we want this, and we want this, and we want this. Come on, Natasha Cloud, cut it out.
Are still not making enough. That middleman potentially still not making enough for housing to also be taken off of the table. You all know this New York market. that $200,000 jump that players are going to make, that's before taxes. That's before what they would have to pay for a potential housing market in the state of New York. So I still am focused on our middleman again. I think it's a starting point. I'm happy with them finally coming back to us with a proposal, but I think there's a lot more that we can do to protect our middleman, even with our jump of salary.
Natasha Cloud. Earth to Natasha Cloud. Earth to Natasha Cloud. All sports have to deal with higher taxes in some states, lower taxes in other states. Higher property tax in some states, lower property tax in other states. All leagues have to deal with that. In case you aren't aware, WNBA isn't special, Natasha Cloud. WNBA isn't special. This person acting as a mouthpiece on your behalf.
That last clip right there takes the conversation in a whole new direction. Because right after the tentative CBA agreement drops, another voice jumps into the debate, Phoenix Mercury veteran Natasha Cloud. 8 years in the league, never afraid to speak her mind. But instead of celebrating the massive progress in the deal, salary jumps, revenue sharing finally entering the conversation, Cloud immediately zeroes in on one issue, housing. She argues that even with salaries rising toward that $200,000 average, players are still dealing with taxes and the high cost of living in cities like New York, saying housing shouldn't even be a conversation at this level. And look, that concern sounds relatable at first, until you step back and look at how professional sports actually operate. Every major league deals with the same realities. NBA players in California face brutal state taxes compared to players in Texas or Florida. NFL players in New York deal with way higher living costs than guys playing in Tennessee. But those leagues don't provide housing. They don't subsidize rent either. It's simply part of the financial structure of professional sports. Now think about the WNBA numbers being discussed here. An average salary pushing close to $200,000 for roughly a 4 to 5 month season, from May through August with playoffs stretching into September. Even in expensive markets like New York or Los Angeles, short-term housing might run around $4,000 a month. Over 5 months, that's about $20,000, still a fraction of that salary. So when this argument started circulating online, it sparked another wave of debate about expectations, economics, and how the league should actually structure player benefits. And once that discussion hit social media, the reaction from fans was explosive. Now watch how this story wraps up.
No money. Oh, shoot. Name another job where you get housing. They need to wake up and accept reality. People make less and can afford a place. These players just want to live a luxury lifestyle, and WNBA does not need to support that lifestyle for all the players, just like everyone else in the world. If they feel like it's not enough money to support the lifestyle they want to live, just find a new job. If you are the middle class of the WNBA, that means there are more of you, so go do something with the PA. Cece can breathe without getting killed, so you all should do something about it. Damn. She just needs to be quiet because she doesn't give a fuck about the future, only getting paid now. She's not being terribly realistic. Damn. Man. Yesterday was what a lot of the commentary yesterday. What we thrive on over here, right? It's what we thrive. We are the dark side, right? What we thrive on that stuff. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I appreciate the support. Kalen Clark getting dragged through the mud. CC fans in turn holding the old guard's feet to the fire. Nowhere to be found. And Natasha Cloud, of course, doing what Natasha Cloud does. Spewing off some nonsense. Like the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below.
That last clip really brings everything into focus, because the more you dig into Natasha Cloud's argument, the more the numbers start telling a different story. She says she's protecting the middle tier of players, the ones who aren't superstars, the ones closer to the minimum contract. And on the surface that sounds noble. But under the new agreement, the league minimum jumps to about $90,000 for roughly 4 months of work. To put that in perspective, the median household income in the United States sits around $75,000 for an entire year. So the lowest paid WNBA player will now earn more than that in a 4-month season, with the option to rest, train, build endorsements, or play overseas during the remaining 8 months. And yet the conversation somehow circles back to housing subsidies. That's why the reaction online was so intense. Fans started asking a simple question: what other profession provides housing on top of a 6-figure salary? Professional sports has always been tied to one thing: revenue. The NBA pays massive salaries because it generates massive revenue. The WNBA is still growing, and every financial jump has to come from growth on the court and growth in viewership. And here's where the irony of this whole situation really hits. Natasha Cloud has been in the league since 2015. She's built a long career, earned millions, and now she's criticizing housing costs right after the league delivers the biggest financial agreement in WNBA history. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark simply suggested that playing great basketball is what drives revenue, and she got labeled a scab for saying it. That's the double standard people started noticing. Veterans can complain about almost anything and get defended. But when a rookie talks about focusing on the product, suddenly the backlash is brutal. And if you look back at the entire 2024 season, that same pattern kept repeating. Physical plays against Clark were dismissed as just basketball. Criticism toward other players became a conversation about fan behavior. But when Clark spoke, celebrated, or even stayed quiet, some corner of the internet found a reason to attack. Now look at the results of that rookie season. Record television ratings. Indiana Fever games jumping from around 200,000 viewers the year before to more than 1 million per game. Playoff viewership exploding. Arenas selling out across the league. Merchandise flying off the shelves. For the first time in nearly 3 decades, the WNBA was dominating sports conversation. And right after that surge, the league secured a CBA that more than doubled salaries and introduced revenue sharing. That doesn't happen without the momentum of the 2024 season. And that momentum doesn't happen without Caitlin Clark becoming the biggest storyline in women's basketball. Which means when she said great basketball drives revenue, she was literally describing the blueprint that just worked. So here's the real question as we head toward the 2025 season. Caitlin Clark enters year 2. Paige Bueckers is likely stepping into the league as a rookie. The narratives are already forming, the fan bases already choosing sides. And if the same message from 2 players can create completely opposite reactions, what happens when the spotlight gets even bigger? Because if the goal is truly growing the league, building respect, and creating long-term success, then the conversation has to be fair for everyone on the court. Now I want to hear from you. Do you see the double standard people are talking about? Or do you think this whole debate is being blown out of proportion? Drop your take in the comments. And if you want more breakdowns like this, real stories, real receipts, and the truth behind the biggest moments in women's basketball, make sure you hit subscribe and join the WNBA Vibe community. Because trust me, the 2025 season is about to get wild. Fire basketball and hoop.